Hey, Midwest Picker here. Another episode of Midwest Picker Stories. Now, these stories are 100% true. They either happened to me or I was there when they happened. Nothing really super exciting, not newsworthy, no Bigfoot sightings, no kidnappings or murders. Well, there was that one story. These stories paint a picture of what life was like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So this is for entertainment purposes only. Please do not, especially this one, please do not try this at home. The names have been changed to protect the privacy of the people involved, except for the word dad. Is that really a name? So this story goes back to 1975. I was 9 years old, just a little runt of a kid. And I remember back then, I was super excited when grown-ups and adults and parents would involve me in anything. It was always fun. If my dad was working on the car, he said, "Come on, boy." We'd go outside and I'd hand him tools. I was like, wow, this is really cool. It was always fun. Mom's cooking in the kitchen, baking a cake or baking cookies, and she'd include me and my sister, and this is how you do it, and this is how you make the ingredients. Anytime grown-ups would include us as kids, we thought that was a special treat. I think all kids love being included by grown-ups, grandparents, aunts and uncles. I think all kids really enjoy that. So this story takes place on a very cold December night, like I said, 1975. I don't remember the exact date. The details are sketchy leading up to what happened, but I do remember it was very cold, probably about 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So I had two friends that lived on the same street as me growing up. I'm going to call them Gary and Calvin, not their real names. One was a little older, one was a little younger. We would play all the time, and a lot of times our families would get together. They were friends of the family, and we would have dinner or play cards or whatever we did in the 70s. And almost always the grown-ups would be inside and the kids had to go outside and play. I've heard that so many times. If I had a nickel every time I heard go outside and play, I'd be a billionaire. But that's what we did back in the 70s. We were outdoors all the time. We didn't have air conditioning in the house. We didn't have internet. There was one TV with, 3 channels, and the grown-ups got to pick what to watch. So there really wasn't a whole lot to do inside anyways. So we spent a lot of our time outdoors. On this particular cold December night, I'm guessing it was 7 p.m., 8 p.m., really dark out because of the time change. And if you're watching this video 2 years from now or 3 years from now, we actually had time changes. So anyway, so it was a December night, not too late, but it was very cold and very dark. And the women, the 2 moms and my sister, they left. I guess they went Christmas shopping or they did something. And the 2 dads were home, quote unquote, watching the boys. So it was 2 dads, me and my 2 friends were home. So after the women left, the 2 dads, my dad and my friend's dad, said, "Boys, get your coats, we're going out." And we were like, oh my gosh, we're going out. They're including us. We're all going out as men. This is sweet. So we grabbed our winter coats. No need for hats or mittens or anything like that because we're jumping in the 73 Nova and we're going out with our dads. We were thrilled. This is going to be so much fun. So in the back seat of this old rickety Nova, me, Gary, and Calvin were in the back seat. Our dads were in the front. We had no idea where we were going. Doesn't matter. We're with our dads. This is going to be sweet. A rare treat indeed. So we drove for what seemed like about a half an hour, and we were out in the middle of nowhere. This was like farm country. And the roads were kind of icy, kind of snowy, and it was dark. There's no street lights. We had no idea where we were, but hey, we're with our dad, so we don't care. This is fun. This is like an adventure that they're including us on. So the car slowed down. Gary's dad was driving. He kind of pulled off the road to a crawl and turned the headlights off. We just kind of sat silently in the back seat, and the next thing you know, Gary's dad turns the wheel hard to the right and drives into a field with the headlights off in the middle of some field. We don't have no idea where we're at. We're bouncing and bopping around through this field in the total pitch dark. Our eyes are like this big. We're like, what the heck? I mean, we didn't drive, but we knew this was pretty strange, and the car just kind of bounced along 5 miles an hour through this big empty field, which seemed like 10 or 15 minutes. We were way off the road. We had no idea where we were. Eventually, we came to a stop. Gary's dad put the car in park and shut it off. That's right, he shut it off. So we're out in the middle of nowhere, in a snow-covered field, and he turns the engine off. That was my first red flag. So our dad said, "You boys wait right here." They got out of the car, slammed the doors, went to the trunk, got a bunch of tools, and they disappeared into the dark, leaving us in the car, not running, shut off. We had no idea where we were, and we had no idea what the heck they were doing. We could barely see them in the dark under the moonlight, and eventually they disappeared. And we kind of looked at each other like, where are they going? What are they doing? Why did they leave us here? Why can't we go with them? Why didn't they leave the car running? We're going to freeze. After about 15 minutes of sitting in the car, it started to get pretty cold. We weren't too worried, a little worried. But the temperature, like I said, was really cold, probably 0 or 5 below 0 Fahrenheit. And yeah, we still can't see our dads in the dark, and we're starting to get worried because we're getting really cold in the car. Our eyes were fixed on the windows, scanning this field in the moonlight, trying to see if we can figure out where our dads are, and we were just zoomed in and we could not find them. So now we began to get a little worried for several reasons. It's been about 20-25 minutes. We don't know where our dads are. We don't know what they're doing. And nobody knows we're out here because they didn't tell anybody. They didn't have cell phones back then. They didn't tell the ladies what we were doing. They waited till the ladies left. So we're stranded in this car with no heat. We have no idea where our dads are, and nobody in the world knows we're here. Not to get dramatic, but I still remember to this day, even though I'm 56 years old, how cold my hands were. My toes, my fingers, they were probably turning blue, but they were so cold they started to go numb. And we're like breathing into our hands and trying to keep them warm, but it was just not working. After what felt like about an hour, I don't think it was a real hour, maybe 45 minutes, we saw our dads approaching the car. We saw these flashlights kind of bouncing, coming towards the car. We're like, yes, our dads are here. Now you're probably wondering what was so important that they had to take us with them in the middle of the night, in the freezing cold, in a non-running car. What was so important? Why could this not wait? Why was it so important? Our dads came running up to the car, and they each had a Christmas tree on their shoulder. That's right. This is what was so important. They took us along because they were out in the middle of a field at a farm stealing Christmas trees. You know, nothing really says happy birthday, Jesus, like getting up on Christmas morning as a little kid in your foot pajamas, and you're so excited, and you run out to the living room, and you look at all those presents underneath a stolen Christmas tree. Merry Christmas. So our dads hurriedly threw the Christmas trees on the roof of the car. They got some rope and, tried to tie the trees to the roof of the car. And we're like, thank goodness they're here. So they jump in the car and they start it up, turn on the heat, and they start to drive out of this field. Now this was a crappy old Nova, so it's only got one little heater in the front of the car. So it's going to be a while before the heat reaches the back seat and we don't feel like we're going to die of hypothermia. So Gary's dad, put the car in gear with the headlights off and started rambling out of this field, and he gets stuck. Now, if you live in a cold weather state, back in the day, all the cars had rear wheel drive. You know that familiar sound of the spinning tires when you get stuck in the wintertime. No problem. Gary's dad has, a solution. Puts the car in reverse and drive for like 1 second at a time to rock the car, back and forth to get us unstuck. But it didn't work, of course. So while he's doing that, my dad had to jump out, get behind the car, and push the car as Gary's dad kind of rocked the car back and forth. So we're creating this noise, but the headlights are still off. This is still strange. So eventually, after all of this mess, we get unstuck. So eventually we bounce through this field, we get to the road, he turns the headlights on, and now we're headed home. So of course we're not stupid. I mean, we're 8, 9, and 10 years old, but we peppered our dads with questions like, why did you turn the headlights off? Why did you turn the car off? Why didn't we just buy Christmas trees? What are you doing? So they said something really lame like, oh, these are extra trees. They don't want them, and they don't care if people just take them. The three of us knew better than that. We knew that our dads stole these trees, and it was really disappointing that our dads would do this and take us with them to do it. Not only did we almost freeze to death, but then we were party to them stealing Christmas trees, so it made us pretty sad. I mean, it's one thing to be walking through a grocery store, right, and see a cigarette lighter on the floor or a dollar bill, and you pick it up and don't take it to Lost and Found. I mean, that's one thing. But really going to a farmer who grows Christmas trees in the middle of the night with your kids to steal them, come on. So that's the story, guys. That's my life in the 70s. Almost froze to death. When I'm making these stories about car accidents and being arrested and all these crazy things, I just realized I almost died about 6 times in my life. I've escaped death a lot of times. Very weird. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't seen the other Midwest Picker stories, there is a link down below to those. There's a whole playlist of stories. If you know anybody that would find this story hilarious or interesting, hit that share button and share it with somebody else. But that's it, guys. Until next time, see ya.